The Wind Who Wanted to Belong by the Bashful Balloon, narrated by me, Luca Eliseo Lopez. It started, as things often do, with a sudden gust of wind. The garden had been perfect all morning. Bunting strings between the posts, cupcakes lined up in careful rows, streamers curling in the breeze, just enough to look festive, not chaotic. Pip and the bunch were greeting guests near the arch, and Lumi, Lumi, sparkled quietly near the flowers. And Roberta, the old rubber tree who stood at the edge of the garden, longer than anyone could remember, stretched their wide leaves over the party like a quiet, patient umbrella. Then, without any warning, the wind changed. It wasn't a gentle breeze this time. It came in fast, scattering napkins and tugging at streamers, making them loose, knocking over small stacks of party cups. And right there in the middle of it all, spinning and swirling, was Gust. Gust didn't mean to just stir up any trouble or cause any trouble. Gust never really did. But wherever Gust went, things moved, sometimes a little too much. Gust! Breezy called out, ribbons snapping with irritation. You're wrecking everything. Gust slowed down, hovering awkwardly above the mist of scattered napkins. Oh, I didn't mean to. You never mean to, Breezy cut it. But it still happens every time. There was a tension between them that went back further than any one afternoon. Breezy and Gus were both made of the same kind of energy. They were made of air and movement and wind, but somehow that made things even harder, not easier. Breezy had spent so long being the one who moved things gently, who strung a breeze gently enough to make the party feel alive. And then here comes Gust, chaotic, unpredictable, doing the same kind of thing, but bigger, wilder, harder to control. It felt to Breezy like Gust was doing their job just wrong. Gust drifted to the edge of the garden, ribbon trailing low and loose. Nobody followed. The party picked back up behind them. Cupcakes rescued, streamers rehung, laughter returned. But Gus just stayed apart, unsure whether to try again or to just leave. That's when Roberta spoke. Roberta didn't call out or make a fuss. Trees rarely do. They simply rustled their leaves, low and steady, the way they always did when the wind blew their way, in between their branches. It wasn't a scolding sound. It was almost like a greeting. Gus looked up. You're not mad at me? I've had wind blow through me for years, Roberta said, their voices slow and warm, like bark in sunlight. Some of it gentle, some of it wild. I don't get to choose what kind of visit. I just learn to bend. Gust settled a little bit closer, still curious. Everyone else gets frustrated with me. I don't know how to be at a party without, oh, things happen. They just keep happening. Gus gestures at the scattered napkins and the crooked streamers. Have you ever been shown how to? Roberta asked. Gust didn't answer right away. Nobody really had. Gust had always just arrived, full of energy, no roots, no patience, staying still. Moving was the one thing Gust knew how to do. Roberta lowered one of their wide branches, offering shade. Rest here a moment. You don't have to hold back your wind completely. You just have to learn to let it settle. For the first time in a long afternoon, Gust went still. Not gone, just quiet. The wind around the garden calmed with it. The streamers stopped their frantic dance. The napkins finally stayed where they landed, and from across the garden, Breezy noticed the sudden calm and drift over Curious and seeing Gust rest beneath Roberta's branches. Some of Breezy's frustration softened into something else. Recognition, maybe. Breezy knew what it felt like to be made of wind, to want to stir things up, to sometimes get it a little way too big, a little too much. I don't mean to snap at you, Breezy said quietly, settling nearby. Gust looked up in surprise. I don't mean to ruin your party. I know, Breezy said, and this time, Breezy meant it. Maybe, Roberta offered gently, you two aren't so different. You're both wind. You just move at different speeds. Breezy almost laughed. I never thought of it that way. Most differences, Roberta says, are really just the same thing moving differently. Gust's ribbons lifted just slightly. Not wild this time, just hopeful. Could you teach me how to be part of things without scattering them? Breezy considered this and then smiled. One one real smile. I could try if you're just patient with me being patient with you. Gust laughed, an actual laugh, light and easy, the first calm sound they made all day. Together they drifted back toward the party, and this time, when the wind stirred up, it moved gently. Breezy showing Gust how to lift a streamer without tearing it, how to stir a breeze without knocking things over. It wasn't perfect. A napkin still went flying once or twice, but nobody minded because now it felt like play instead of chaos. Roberta watched from the edge of the garden, leaves swaying softly, saying nothing and more. They didn't need to. Roberta had done what steady, rooted things do best. They made space for something restless to finally slow down. I just want to tell you here is what the story is really about. Sometimes the people who seem the most disruptive, the most difficult, the most too much aren't really trying to cause harm. They just haven't been shown another way to move through the world. It's easy to get frustrated with someone who keeps knocking things over. It's it's harder, but so much more powerful to ask, what if they simply never had someone patient enough to show them how to stay? Being different doesn't mean being wrong. Sometimes two people who seem the most alike, like Breezy and Gust, made both of wind struggle the hardest to understand each other because they are too busy comparing instead of connecting. And at times, the steadiest, the quietest person in the room, the one who doesn't say too much, who just makes space and waits, is the one who changes everything. So today, maybe think of someone in your life who feels a little like Gust, restless, misunderstood, always seeming to stir more up than they mean to. What it would look like if they had a Roberta, to simply make space, to let them learn to bend. I always want you to know that I see you and I'm proud of you, and always have a good day.